What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler and can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Tuesday, September 16th. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league, kicking things off with the bad news as infielder Edmundo Sosa was placed on the 10-day IL with a groin strain. Lots of injuries to the Phillies recently. Sosa was seeing time at second base, third base, and shortstop, but mostly at second base recently, with Bryson Stott shifting to shortstop to cover for Trey Turner, who was recently placed on the IL. So Sosa vacating second base will mean Weston Wilson is expected to see everyday playing time at the keystone position until Sosa or Turner returns. Our other IL placement involves shortstop Zach Neto, who was placed on the 10-day IL with a hand strain. The Angels made the move retroactive to September 13th, which suggests that they want Neto to return before the end of the season. He'll be eligible to return on September 22nd, so he could be playing in the final week. In a corresponding move, Carter Kieboom was selected from the minors, but Denzer Guzman is expected to be the everyday shortstop for the Angels until Neto returns. In terms of transactions, catcher Dalton Rushing was activated from the 10-day IL after missing time with a shin bone bruise. He will be the backup catcher to Will Smith, and in a corresponding move to make room for Rushing's return, Chucky Robinson was optioned to the minors. Next, starting pitcher Michael Wacha was activated from the 7-day concussion IL to start versus the Mariners. He got absolutely rocked, tossing 2 2/3 innings, allowing 9 hits and 7 earned runs while walking nobody and striking out 2. He induced just 1 whiff with 17% CSW across just 47 pitches, and Wacha will get the Blue Jays to possibly close out his season next week. That's probably a start I steer clear from after the lack of success here. In a corresponding move, outfielder Nick Lofton was optioned to the minors. And lastly, third baseman Jordan Westberg was activated from the 10-day IL after missing quite some time with an ankle sprain. He was the everyday third baseman before the injury, but Westberg started at DH in his return. He's likely to move to the hot corner versus left-handed pitching, with Jeremiah Jackson shifting to the outfield, allowing Ryan Mountcastle to get at bats on the short side of an indirect platoon with Dylan Carlson or Dylan Beavers. Now we can take a look at our notable performances from Tuesday, a day in which we had a packed slate of 16 games as the Braves and Nationals partook in a doubleheader. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with Dominic Canzone, who helped the Mariners to win in Kansas City, going 5 for 5 with 4 runs, 3 home runs, and 4 runs batted in. He's up to 10 homers on the season now. The first one traveled 419 feet at 110 miles per hour. The second one went 447 feet at 108 miles per hour. And the third one went 388 feet at 101 miles per hour. Canzone has enjoyed a quiet mini breakout this year for the Mariners on the strong side of a platoon in right field with occasional time at DH. And it's all been thanks to a more selective approach that has not only allowed Canzone to make significantly more contact, but has also allowed him to improve his batted ball metrics. He already was sporting solid career StatCast metrics, but Canzone has improved them this year, barreling balls at a 13% rate with a 47% hard hit rate, marks that are expected to improve even further following Tuesday's outburst. Canzone's been able to tap into his power more this year because he's learned how to pull those barrels, maximizing their impact. Combining all of these improvements has led to a 200-point increase in Canzone's OPS and a career high in games played. Canzone, though, does have disparate platoon splits, which ultimately limit his playing time and his impact in fantasy circles. So it was surprising to see Canzone hit his first big league homer against a southpaw pitcher when he took Daniel Lynch deep yesterday, which maybe hints at those platoon splits going by the wayside, ultimately possibly leading to even more playing time in 2026. Canzone is a great play in 15 teamers, and he seems to have primed himself for a more significant role in 2026. In other Mariners news, catcher Cal Raleigh had a big game beside Dominic Canzone, going 3-for-4 with 3 runs, a double, 2 homers, and 3 runs batted in. He's up to 56 homers on the year now. First one went 419 feet at 110 miles per hour. Second one went 425 feet at 106 miles per hour. And we'll just be touching on this one. I felt it was worth mentioning that Raleigh, with those pair of homers, broke Mickey Mantle's major league record for homers in a season by a switch hitter. Mantle was at 54. Cal Raleigh has now set that record at 56. He's also tied Ken Griffey Jr.'s Mariners franchise record with those 56 homers. Raleigh just continues to rewrite the history books, and he does so over Inner Circle Hall of Famers, which is even more impressive. And lastly, outfielder Jackson Merrill did all he could, but the Padres lost in Queens. He went 2-for-4 with a run, a double, a homer, and an RBI. It was his 14th homer of the year, and it traveled 431 feet at 107 miles per hour. Merrill got off to a ridiculously hot start to the season, batting .467 with 4 homers through his first 15 games, of which was interrupted by an IL stint. But he's had most of his campaign limited by injuries and underperformance, as Merrill's had 3 different IL stints this year and batted just .218 with 5 homers from mid-May through mid-August, when he was placed on the IL for the final time. Since returning from the IL when rosters expanded in September, Merrill has recaptured his 2024 and early season form, but most of his damage has come in the past week, during which Merrill's batted .333 with 5 long balls, tapping into the power he was missing all summer. This late season surge should give fantasy managers hope that Merrill's sophomore slump will be left in the past with a comeback 2026 campaign. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Tuesday, check out the daily Batters Box article over on PitcherList.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Cade Horton, who helped the Cubs to a win in Pittsburgh, tossing 5 innings, allowing 3 hits and 1 run, while walking 1 and striking out 6, inducing 6 whiffs with 27% CSW across 79 pitches. Horton continued his quest for the NL Rookie of the Year award, handling an easy opponent in the Pirates with ease. It was typical pitch usage from Horton, with sweepers versus righties for a trio of whiffs and 37% CSW, and poorly performing changeups against lefties as they returned just 1 whiff and 9% CSW, while 4-seamers stole strikes left and right against a passive Pirates lineup. 10 called strikes and a pair of whiffs totaled 30% CSW on the fastball. Ultimately, Horton wasn't at his best on Tuesday, so it's impressive he still found so much success. And I think Horton displays poise beyond his age, and that will make him a successful pitcher for quite some time, because really, I don't think Horton's an ace yet, but all the aces in baseball, when they have down days, they find a way to get things done, and that's what Horton did on Tuesday. It's a good sign for his future. Horton's workload, though, will continue to be limited down the stretch, so he's not really an ideal option in Cincinnati up next. And lastly, Jose Suarez helped the Braves to a win in the first game of their doubleheader. He tossed 7 innings, allowing 5 hits and 2 earned runs, walking 2 while striking out 9, inducing 21 whiffs with 36% CSW across 99 pitches to earn the golden goal, as those 21 whiffs earned him the gallows pole as he led baseball in whiffs. He also led baseball with his 36% CSW to earn the King Cole. And yeah, that's right, Jose Suarez. He's never even hinted at this type of ceiling before, and he set a career high in punch-outs and swings and misses on Tuesday with those 9 and 21 respectively. This was not only Suarez's first big league appearance since April, it was also his first start of the season, as he opened the season in the bullpen. The weirdest part, though, is that there wasn't even a noticeable change in his repertoire or his stuff. It was mostly exceptional command of his changeup off the edges of the zone versus right-handed batters, but notably, all of his pitches found success on Tuesday. The changeup fastball combo for Suarez was lethal against righties, with the slow ball returning 6 whiffs and the heater inducing 7, while lefties got a more wider mix of pitches with sinkers, 4-seamers, and sliders, as well as a few changeups and curveballs mixed in. Suarez's breakers were weapons, though, combining for 7 whiffs and 46% CSW, and ultimately it was an incredible outing all around for Suarez. However, I don't see a noticeable change in him as a pitcher other than the results we saw on Tuesday, and this spot start definitely sparked my interest in Suarez, which could make him a very, very sneaky streamer versus the Nationals next if he were to get another start. That'd be a great rematch, but he needs to stick in the rotation for that to happen. I think if Suarez finds success again there, I'd be looking for him to be a dark horse breakout candidate in deep leagues heading into next season. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Tuesday. Give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Raisel Iglesias recorded his 26th save with a hitless ninth. Brad Keller pitched a perfect ninth for his third save. Andrew Kittredge pitched a perfect seventh in that one for his 15th hold. So it's clearly somewhat of a closer committee on the north side of Chicago. Hogan Harris had a scoreless 4-out save, his third of the season. Jeff Hoffman recorded the final 2 outs of the game to record his 31st save of the season. Keegan Aiken recorded his 6th save with a scoreless ninth. David Bednar worked around a solo shot for his 25th save. Riley O'Brien pitched a perfect ninth for his 5th save. Jojo Romero pitched in that one, throwing a perfect 8th for his 23rd hold. Ronnie Henriquez recorded his 9th save with a 4-out save. And lastly, Yohan Duran pitched a perfect ninth for his 31st save. And in terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Will Vester allowed 4 runs, 3 earned, while pitching the 10th in a tie game to take his 4th loss. Cade Smith would end up earning his 7th win in that one, despite blowing his 6th save by serving up a game-tying homer in the 9th. Victor Vodnik pitched a scoreless ninth down by 3. He hadn't pitched since last Friday, so this was a maintenance outing for the Rockies closer. And lastly, Ryan Walker pitched the 9th in a tie game, getting just 1 out before surrendering the go-ahead run to take his 6th loss. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Wednesday, September 17th, a day in which we'll have a full slate of 15 games beginning at 12:35 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure to get your lineups set early. My matchup of the day is Bryce Miller versus Cole Ragans. Miller has looked much better recently after a long IL stint. And despite not pitching in his very nice home ballpark, nice for pitchers, the Royals ballpark is also really great for pitchers, so Miller should find success there. And Ragans is returning from the 60-day IL, something we've been waiting at least a couple months for. So that should be fun to see Cole Ragans back with his pew, pew, pew. And I'm excited to see Miller square off against Ragans in that one. In terms of probable starters, we got 5 guys in the auto starts tier, including Jacob deGrom in Houston, Brandon Woodruff versus the Angels, and Blake Snell versus the Phillies. Our probably starts tier has 9 guys, and our questionable starts tier has 8, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Ryan Weathers in Colorado. He's looked very solid since returning from the IL, and as scary as the Rockies are, there aren't many streaming options on Wednesday, and Weathers should be able to, and I know I just said the Rockies are scary. Their ballpark is really what's scary, not really that lineup. So I do think Weathers should be able to handle that lineup despite the increased elevation in Colorado. I'd also keep an eye out for Christian Javier versus the Rangers. The Rangers lineup is heavily depleted at the moment, so I'm not too afraid of it. Javier has not been that consistent since returning from the IL, and ultimately over the past few years or so, outside of that one breakout campaign he had. But I do still think if you're desperate for a stream, that Javier can find success against the Rangers. In terms of hitter suggestions, I'd look at Andrew McCutchen versus Matthew Boyd. McCutchen has batted .333 with 2 homers and a 12.18 OPS and 12 at-bats versus Boyd. I'd also target Reds hitters versus Andre Piante and his 5.23 ERA in Busch Stadium. I'd also target Giants hitters versus Brandon Pfaadt and his 5.31 ERA in Chase Field. I'd also target Red Sox hitters versus Mason Barnett and his 8.53 ERA. That's in just 2 starts, but not a great start to the season for Barnett. They'll be playing in Fenway Park. I'd also target Yandy Diaz versus Kevin Gausman in George M. Steinbrenner Field. Diaz has batted .500 with a homer and a 13.45 OPS in 10 at-bats against Gausman. Cedric Mullins is also somebody to target versus Nick Pivetta in Citi Field. Mullins has batted .323 with a pair of homers and a 9.45 OPS in 31 at-bats against Pivetta. And lastly, pretty obvious, Marlins and Rockies hitters in Coors Field will see Ryan Weathers square off against McCade Brown and his 9.88 ERA. Now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. Jeff Hoffman has pitched on back-to-back days, but so have Seranthony Dominguez and Brendan Little. So expect Yariel Rodriguez to be the top option for saves out of Toronto. Will Vest has pitched in 3 of the past 4 days, so we could see somebody like Tommy Kahnle get a shot at a save. Yohan Duran has pitched on back-to-back days and in 3 of the past 4, so one of Matt Strahm or Orion Kirkring should fill in for Duran on Wednesday. And lastly, Brad Keller has pitched in back-to-back days and in 4 of the past 5, so with this closer committee, Andrew Kittredge should get the ball if a save arises on Wednesday for the Cubs. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.